there, welcome to this video where you'll see your future life. By the time I turned 27, I realized that my life was being a bit dull. So I decided to put some, pizzazz on it and left everything behind, moved to the US. I used to be an English and a French teacher back in Turkey. I'm 29-year-old and I decided to come here to do my master's. The only problem is I really don't know what to do my master's about. So here I am trying to figure out life and enjoy New York City as much as I can. When did I decide to come to New York specifically? Well, here's the thing. I actually did not decide to come here by myself. It wasn't my only choice to come here. My biggest dream was to move to Madrid or Paris at first, and I was planning to get my European visa. My mom did not want me to go to Europe by myself. But after a while, my mom told us that she had a cousin in New York, and she was like, I can trust him, you can go there if you want. And that's how I decided to come here, because my mom had someone who can trust. Yes, my mom does not trust me, that's right. And then my dreams kind of shaped themselves. Of course, I'm not complaining about being here because this is such an opportunity and it is filled with art and history and opportunities. And I'm so glad that I'm here right now. But Paris, Madrid, Florence is still in my dreams, and I'm still planning living there at least for a period of time in my life. When I first decided to come here, I was newly graduated and I was planning to do my master's in abroad. So when I was interviewing for my visa, I told them that I was planning to do my master's in abroad, specifically in Europe. That's actually why I kind of got my visa easily. I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes. Let's continue our questions in Roosevelt Island. Was this process easy? Well, of course, it was not easy at all. It was actually pretty gut-wrenching. I personally did not have that many issues with my process, but I've seen my friends having a lot of issues. And I could easily say that this process will not be easy for you too. Just speaking for the visa, even gathering all the documents in one hand is the hardest part, because you will have to get a lot of references, your resume, your cover letters, your bank statements, and like a lot of different stuff. And it always depends on your visa status, whichever visa you want to get, of course. Another question that I often get is, how did I get my visa and what kind of a process I went through and what separated me from others? I want to say that my visa process was actually easy comparing to others. I swear to God, I got my visa in like 1 minute. It took 1 minute for me to get my visa. The person behind the glass was asking me the question, and he asked only 3 questions. Why are you going to the US? What are you going to study? And do you have money? In my opinion, my visa process was easy because I was well prepared. I have gathered all the documents that I will need during the interview. And also, when I was applying for the visa, I was actually still actively working in Turkey, in my home country. So having an active insurance and active work is actually pretty effective getting your visa, because they will assume that you will get back to your country in order to finish your job, in order to continue your experiences and like your projects or etc. What made it easy for me to get the visa was mostly proving that I have reasons to come back to Turkey. Like, you have to show them that you are a very successful person back in your home country, and you have a lot of reasons to go back to your home country again after you finish your education or your experience or your internship or, I don't know, your job in US or any other country, of course. So what separated me was the fact that I was well prepared and my bank statement actually showing $45,000, and it is actually over the budget. It's actually really good for the bank statement. Most schools usually want around $15,000 to $20,000 in your bank account for a year, and I have this privilege from a family member that they gave me some kind of a loan for a while, and I used that loan to get my bank statement in a good position so I can get my visa. So I think these were what separated me from others. Another thing, when I was having my interview, visa interview, I had 7 students before me and I watched them all getting rejected. like one by one. It took them 1 minute to get rejected, and I was so scary. And I was telling myself, oh my God, I'm gonna get rejected too. I'm so scared. And I was like so surprised that he gave me the visa in like a minute. And yeah, I mean, I think they have to see you as a valuable student or a worker or an intern so they can like let you to their countries, so you can kind of give more to society. And the next question, which visa type I got? I have an F1 visa, a student visa. I specifically got student visa in order to get a work authorization after I graduate from my master's degree or whichever degree I am planning to get. Most people said it's actually very difficult to get student visa from the US. But I think it's way more difficult to get tourist visa for US. I mean, you have to show like a real strong bank statement for a tourist visa. And as a Turkish citizen, my student visa is 5-year long. In order to keep my visa, I have to be a student in a school. In order to keep my visa status, I have to stay in a school as an active student. If I'm not an active student in a school, then they will terminate my visa and they will send me back to my country. How much money I spent for this process? The money that I spent for this process was way less than I imagined it would be. I have to give you this disclaimer that my family has a real bad economical situation. We do not have any income in order to, travel to another country, have fun, study there. I couldn't really depend on my family in order to study in the US or any other country because my father does not work because of health issues, and my mother is the only one who provides for the family, which is less than nothing. So in this case, I couldn't really ask for money from my family. I had a loan from the bank, which was around $3,200. That was for the school, for 2 months of school. Visa and the passport cost $800 maybe, nothing more than that. My airplane ticket was around $500. I did not pay anything for the accommodation due to the fact that I had people I know here. Coming here, I actually spent around almost $5,000, and I had around $200 or $300 in my pocket in order to spend in the first or second week, which was a big mistake because I actually spent that money in like 3 days. So don't do that. Don't come here with only $200. Don't do the mistake that I have done. Most students are very concerned about the fact that they won't be able to find any accommodation. So they have been asking me, where did I stay and how can a student find a place to stay? Personally, my process was easy because I had a relative whom I do not like here. He provided me some networking in order to, so I can find someone that I can live with. Thanks to this person, this relative of mine, I found my current family. I have been staying with them ever since I came here. And how you can find an accommodation? Well, first of all, the easy part is that when you apply for a language school to come to the US, your language school usually provides you some information about accommodations around the city. So you can find families and individuals who have been renting their rooms for students, which will cost you around $1,000 to $1,500. Other than that, as a student, I always recommend finding a room or an apartment that is far away from the city center, because otherwise your rooms, even like the shittiest room, will cost you more than $1,500. I personally was planning to get a room in Jersey side because Jersey side has been always really affordable, or deep in Brooklyn or Queens. Queens is actually a really good choice to get a room, get an apartment that is affordable, which I didn't have to because, I'm staying with a family, but my friends, they found a lot of cheap, affordable rooms in New Jersey side, and they have been paying around $800 to $1,000 for really large, livable rooms. Other than that, just like I did, you can find a relative or someone you know from this city or any city you're planning to go, and kind of connect with them so they can kind of help you network. Next question, is it easy to be a student in New York City? I specifically chose Washington Square for this question because my school is in Washington Square. Well, it's actually not. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. If you have not an income, like a stable income, or if your family does not provide you then it's really difficult to survive as a student in New York City. As a student with no financial income and no family support, it was hell for me. It still is. But of course, the good news is there are so many scholarships for international students like me. Government itself provides a lot of scholarships that you can get. I really don't know where to apply those scholarships because I didn't have to yet. But when I start my master's, like officially, I have to. And other than that, if you're a student in New York City or any university in the United States, after spending a year in the university, you will have the authority, the work authorization to work in the United States, but only in campus. In my case, NYU campus does not provide that many job opportunities for students, but if you study in a bigger campus, you might have a chance to find a job in your campus. And if you graduate from a university in the United States, you'll get a chance to work in United States. It's easier to get a job if you were graduated from here than being graduated from another country, another university. Other than these options, there are so many ways to make money actually as a student. Just like me, you can be a babysitter. It doesn't matter if you're a guy or a girl, it doesn't matter, because here in the United States, everyone can be a babysitter if you are caring enough. Other than that, there are so many ways of making money online, just like me teaching English online. I don't really earn that much from that job, but it just keeps me alive, you know. Next question is, how much do I spend weekly? I actually made a video about this on YouTube, how much I spend weekly. During that video, I was actually working like full-time babysitter and I was earning really good. And now I am not a full-time babysitter and I don't have that many income. So I would say weekly right now, I'm spending between $200 and $300. It's because I don't pay rent. You know, I stay with the family that I'm babysitting their child. And otherwise, my friends who are also students here in New York, they are paying $1,000 to $1,500 for their rents. So I can say they spend almost $700 to $800 per week. Also, they are working full time, so that's not a big deal for them. But for me, even $200 and $300 is too much right now because I don't have a full-time job. I can easily say that you can survive with $200 or $300 in a week if you live like me, which is actually great because I always go out. I always like travel around in New York. I always visit museums and exhibitions. I never like stay back. I never like stay home and do nothing. I always try to socialize more and more. And I always try to find free events in New York, which allows me not to spend a lot of money on stuff, you know? How can I get work authorization or change my visa to work? Just like I said before, if you studied in the US and graduated from any university in the US, you have a better chance getting a job here with sponsorship, of course. Other than that, what you can do is that you can find a job in your campus. It doesn't matter. You can work in the library. You can work in catering in school. Like, it doesn't matter. Just find a job. Doesn't matter what kind of a job it is. And then your school is going to provide you your social security number and your work authorization as a student. And after that, when you graduate, it is going to be so easy for you to find a job and get a sponsorship because you will already have your social security number and your experience in working. So yeah, how can you get your visa easily? What you should do to make the process easier and faster. As I mentioned before, I worked as a teacher back in the days in Turkey. When I was applying for a visa, I was already a teacher in a company, in a big company. When I got my first interview, I already had an active insurance from my company and I was an active teacher working in that company. And of course, other than actively working, I realized that having a lot of experience in different fields benefits me a lot. So that's what I did. I have tried so many different fields in my lifetime. I didn't only work as a teacher, I worked in so many different industries. I've had so many different references from all over Turkey. I have written a kick-ass cover letter for the interview of my visa. And trust me, I did not get any help from ChatGPT or any AI. It was my genuine thoughts and my genuine experiences. That actually worked really good for me. And I recommend the same for you. Oh You can dance, you can try. But anyway, so in my opinion, what made my process easier and faster was the fact that I was already working when I was applying and I had a active insurance, and my experiences, my educational background, which was actually pretty impressive as a student in Turkey. Those are the factors that affected my process in a good way. What I would recommend you to get is a lot of experience in different fields and industries. You have to prove that you have different interests and you are adaptable and you're easy to get along with people, you're social. So there's another question: what schools you can apply for an F1 visa? If you have never been to America or never been to any other country and don't know what to do exactly, in my opinion, you should get a consultant. Because in my case, I have never left my country once in my entire life and I wanted to make everything certain. So at the beginning, I started with a consultant who helped me a lot with my process. And after that, those consultants will provide you the list of names and schools. You can always apply for language schools, but you can also apply for master's degrees, bachelor degrees in universities, even in high schools. That will help you get your F1 visa. One of the questions I got most is how can you afford living in the US or in New York City or any other big cities? Again, I'm going to say if you don't have a family to support you, if you're just a student alone in a big city like New York City, it's going to be really, really difficult to maintain a life here. But if you can find jobs like babysitting jobs, online jobs, you will be able to live a very mediocre life here as a student actually. But if we talk about how can we afford living here in New York City, you can choose to take the bus and subway all the time. You will have to eat a bit unhealthy, which is not very practical, and you can always find rooms to share and apartments to share in order to pay your rent. And the one last question: is New York worth living? Well, it's New York. I would say after talking about so many negative stuff about New York, it's obvious that it's going to be very challenging and very difficult to build a life here. But I could guarantee you there's no way you cannot enjoy this city, because even when I'm struggling right now with financial stuff and emotional stuff, it doesn't matter how difficult it is, I still love the opportunities this city gives. And as a creator, I've had so many great events that I attended before, which I've never had the chance to do it back in my home country, because this is the center of life, basically. Okay, that's kind of exaggerated, but you get the point, right? Yes, I always recommend living here, but that doesn't mean you have to. This isn't a city just to be a tourist in. This is a city where you should put at least a period of time in your life. And it's just so beautiful and so wide that having this kind of an environment could be a bit intimidating. But that's okay, because this is not a city to get old. This is a city to stay young. If you get the chance to become a tourist in this beautiful city, just do it. But you have any chance to live in this city, at least for a short time, you have to take that chance. This is a great phase for your life. This is a great phase for your experiences, for new opportunities. Despite all the negativity I got from my life in New York right now, I just love being here. I know at the end, I will go back to my home country. I will have that stable life that my mom has been telling me about. But this, it's something else. It's like another planet. And I love that about it. It is worth living if you are willing to take risks in your life, if you are willing to have a lot of obstacles and challenges in your life, if you have no problem taking care of yourself in such a fast-paced environment. So I guess that was it for my New York City video. I hope you learned something from my journey, and I hope you understand how deeply I love this city and how important it is for you to give it a try. So I'm going to finish this video and leave you with the beautiful view of Manhattan.